Who needs this game more tonight in the NBA? The Hawks or the Celtics? Stay tuned. Lock it in.
This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
The Monday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you. And as always, we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're passing on baseball today, letting the first weekend marinate. We'll have more baseball picks throughout the week. We have 2 NBA selections and an NHL pick for tonight. We'll recap the exciting UConn-Duke game from yesterday. Final Four now set for this week. So let's begin first in the NBA. Big one in the East with the Hawks and the Celtics in our lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
Games just met a couple days ago in Boston. The Celtics beat the Hawks. In Atlanta, great story, great turnaround. Probably getting rid of Trae Young was the best thing that happened to them. But Atlanta right there in the playoff mix. Boston, obviously, one of the top teams in the East. So, Lee, what do you like here at the Celtics heading to Atlanta tonight?
Yeah, boy, you hit it right on the head. I mean, I've been telling people for a couple of years, Atlanta needed to unload Trae Young. And look what happened since they unloaded him. They're only on a 15-2 straight-up run, 13-4 against the spread. Now, he scores a ton, but defense, non-existent from Trae Young, and just don't think he's a leader. In college, you can, fill up the basket and score like crazy. The difference from guys going to the NBA top picks to the rest of the guys on the floor is just so much. And Atlanta really never took that into consideration. Probably didn't do enough background work before drafting him. But finally, they realized that he was the problem and shipped him to Washington. He gets hurt. I think he played a game or two, limped off. I mean, he's a dog. He's a coach killer. He's a franchise killer. And Atlanta, where are they now without him? Well, they're sitting 6th right now, a half a game in front of Philadelphia, who plays tonight in Miami, and Philly's the favorite. The game means more to this Atlanta team than it does Boston. Boston's kind of locked into where they're going to be playing in the playoffs. Now, Peyton Pritchard has been on absolute fire, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists versus Charlotte in the last game. He had 36 in the game versus Atlanta on that 109-102 win. They're banged up. I mean, Boston played yesterday in Charlotte. Jaylen Brown missed the game. So did Derek White. Who knows whether they play or not? So you have a team Atlanta at home. They're healthier. They're on rest here, and the game means more. I'm laying that 1.5 points. I'm going to go with a lock right out of the gate here. Level 2 lock on a Monday. Atlanta Hawks lay the small spot. They take on and they beat the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and this is a big game for Atlanta. Like you said, that this is a Hawks team that's surging at the right time, and Southeast Division's wide open, so we'll see how that goes. I mean, obviously the Wizards are out, but everyone else trying for that division title. And the Celtics, yes, playing with no rest, never an easy spot, not a lot of travel from Charlotte to Atlanta, but still, big game tonight inside the NBA. We have one more NBA game to get to in a little bit, Pistons and the Thunder. Want to go back, Lee, to college now, and the Final Four is set, so it's all ready for Indianapolis on Saturday. Michigan, Arizona, Illinois, UConn. Now, we expected it to be Illinois and Duke. Duke was up comfortably at the half over UConn, and Dan Hurley's team, they just snuck back in the game. The big steal at the end, and they hit the 3. You're watching that whole sequence unfold, and you're saying to yourself, UConn, you got to foul. Like, Duke is getting it, and they're wasting so much time. You got to foul, and luckily, they double-teamed Cam Boozer's brother at
Caden.
half court, Caden Boozer, thank you. And they get the steal, and you say to yourself, they're going to hit a three. You knew that, you saw that whole thing unfold. What did you think about that whole final sequence and how Duke just had a complete meltdown there, a game that they had in the bag, another blown lead for them?
Well, as soon as the game got to like 4 or 5 points, I knew they weren't going to cover. And my bad, if you were a client of mine, I had Duke. We'd won the night before with Arizona. Eventually, class prevailed there. But I thought that Duke could, if they got a lead, hold on. My bad, should have played them first half. So you got to learn from your mistakes. And I don't think Jon Scheyer's the greatest coach. I mean, you got to settle your team down when that happens. A team's making their run against you. You got to call timeouts at the right time. You got to settle the team, and you got to call good plays, out of those timeouts. And I didn't see that from Jon Scheyer. So, I was rooting. When I lost my bet, I knew I'd made my mistake and I was dead. I'm like, I'm rooting for UConn. I don't like their coach, Dan Hurley. I don't like him personally, but got to give him credit. He's a really good coach, and this was not one of the better teams that they've had. That's why I went against them. But, having Duke lose wasn't too upsetting here if I was going to lose the bet, because I have a brother-in-law that, always tells you he's one of those Dukies, tells you all the time, whether he tells you he's a Dukie or he wears it. Like, he'll go to a UM basketball game. He'll wear UM basketball shorts because he says that's his second favorite team, and wear a Duke tank top or a Duke jacket and sit behind the Boston College bench. I mean, makes absolutely no sense. So they're those guys. I have a friend that, collects cars, vintage cars, and always telling me and say, hey, you got to come see my new vintage car. So the Dukies, they give you a good reason to hate them.
I know. And a lot of people, I agree on the whole Dan Hurley thing. He's not the most likable guy in the world. He's very intense, and he's done a lot to, for resurgence for that UConn program. But Duke is still Duke. And if you're not a Duke fan, it's hard to get excited about them. And look, Jon Scheyer, he's from the inside. He played at Duke, so they want to keep it in-house after Coach K retired. And I understand that. He's a good young coach, but at the same time, you had Cooper Flagg and Cameron Boozer in back-to-back years, and you didn't win a championship. So you got to put that one out there as well. And 2 meltdowns. You should have beat Houston. I mean, there's no guarantee you would beat Florida in the national championship. But at the same time, you had 2 games that you totally threw away there with the 2 of them. So
if you got 6 or 7 McDonald's All-Americans every year, or transfers that are high-level guys, you should lose 5 or less games, over a 2-year span. You got Cooper Flagg, you got Cam Boozer. I mean, and the array of guys around him. To me, Jon Scheyer hasn't proven himself yet. So I know he got ACC Coach of the Year, but
a big deal.
I thought that
Jay Lucas should have won that award, not Jon Scheyer.
I agree. You turn a team around from 7-24 to, in the regular season, it was something like 25-8. I thought that Lucas deserved it. So, elitists, people don't do a lot of study when they vote on these awards. You give Jon Scheyer, Miami's talent, trust me, they don't go 25-8 during the regular season.
Yeah. And I mean, he won it. Why? Because he's got all these great players. That's why he won Coach of the Year. I mean, he's a good coach, but he's not like that great.
He's like these guys, Duke is like, they're the university of, when you have all these leagues now, these, what do they call these kids play summer league, and they join these different teams where kids can fly in every week and play with a different team. He's like that coach of a team that flies in, the best players, and they're going to win 95 to 98% of the games because they just have better players. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll have later on the week, we'll have Final Four picks for Saturday. So that will be coming up, and also NIT later in the week, and also the tournament in Vegas. You have a couple games out there. So still some college basketball, final week of college basketball before it all shuts down next Monday. All right, let's transition to the NHL late night game at the Shark Tank with the Blues and the Sharks for our Hidden Gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
I've said this before on the show, and I'll say it again. I don't make picks based purely on contrarian or regression. I just don't, with the no reasoning behind it that this is going to happen. But this may be one of those times. This is the regression I feel like is going to happen. So the Blues and the Sharks, they meet in San Jose tonight. And I have the first period over between these teams. You're laying like 125. So it's not a crazy number you're laying. First off with St. Louis. They have not scored a first period goal, Lee. How about this? In 8 consecutive games. In fact, they haven't allowed a first period goal in 4 straight. So they've had 4 consecutive games of a scoreless first period, which included their game last Thursday at home against San Jose. They end up winning 2-1 in overtime. And they've hit the first period under now in 9 of the past 10 games. Now, with San Jose, they are back at home. They had a bit of a disastrous road trip. They did beat Columbus at the end, but they got blown out at Nashville, gave 5 in the first period, lost the St. Louis game, then came back and beat Columbus on Saturday. They haven't scored a first period goal in 4 games at home. I just think that this is a time where it's going to come together for both these teams. All you need is 1 goal from each of them. And St. Louis is still in the playoff hunt. They're still kind of there. They're behind in the West, but they still, have some work to do. The game still means something to them. And for the Sharks, they've lost their last 2 to St. Louis, both in overtime. So they'll be up for this game as well. I'm going to go with the first period over. I think you're going to see some goals early. Let's do that between the Sharks and the Blues as our NHL Hidden Gem.
Well, let's be honest. Both of these two teams sitting 12th and 13th, chances of them making playoffs are less than 5%. I just think it's going to be one of those wide open games. You get to this point in the season, really the game doesn't mean much. Guys, they let it all go, and that's where you see defensive lapses and guys, try to do, they try to pad their stats. So, yeah, I like your selection a lot here.
I mean, 8 straight games, you haven't scored a goal in the first period. Like, that's got to stop sooner or later for St. Louis, right, where, you got to get 1 through in one of these games. Coming up, we will talk about more NBA, Pistons and the Thunder. OKC played last night against the Knicks. Now they're back at it against Detroit tonight. Again, the Pistons will beat up without Cade Cunningham, but we're going to talk about that game straight ahead as we continue the Monday edition of Locked On Bets. All right, let's talk now about FanDuel. We are down to 4 in the college basketball tournament, and it's the best time of year. The brackets, some can be busted, may not if you took the chalk. Buzzer beaters, we saw some few upsets early on, but there's nonstop action from tip until final cut down coming up a week from tonight in Indianapolis. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. Here's the best part. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. And you can mix it up however you want. It's really cool. Game picks, sides, totals, futures, same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. All those choices are yours. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups. You got some big teams left in the tournament coming up on Saturday. And then we'll find out the teams Saturday night who will play next Monday. And the bracket's down to 4. So it's really a fun time. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Now let's talk about Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play-by-play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. We continue Locked On Bets here on a Monday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. Now it's time to go back to the NBA for our blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out. Turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Thunder back on the court tonight after beating the Knicks last night, 111-100. Now they get the Detroit Pistons at home. And Lee, the Thunder tonight, 12-point favorites against a team that's 54-20. That's got to tell you something. We know Cade Cunningham is still sidelined, but OKC on the verge of 60 wins. So what do you like tonight?
Yeah, so Detroit in March, you have to give this team credit. I mean, without pretty much most of the time, Cade Cunningham, 9-3, but they've beaten no one. Look at their wins. Nobody's. And OKC, boy, they are starting to get it back, get their little pep in their step. 13-1 this month. Only loss was at Boston. I know they played last night, but no Cade Cunningham. Well, you don't have Cade Cunningham. What happens is then you got to have your best guy. He's down. You got to have your second best guy on defense cover their best guy. And it's like going down. It's like when the NFL, when you lose your best cornerback, it's a trickle-down effect. And I just think that OKC is just so much more athletic here. I think they're going to be able to shut out this Detroit team shooting threes and getting easy baskets. So OKC, I don't know if they're the best team in the NBA, but doesn't take long to call roll them in San Antonio, in my opinion. So I'm going to lay the 12 here. I think they blow out Detroit. Detroit's kind of caught. I mean, they're sitting in first place by 4 games. I think that they know that they're going to be able to get that first seed. They fall behind. They'll be like, okay, just one loss. Lay the 12 points. Blowout special. OKC big over Detroit.
All right, so we'll see if the Thunder can get to 60 wins. And still was hilarious thinking that early in the season there was the prop that would OKC break the wins record this year, and not going to happen. We have injuries, just impossible. I think at this point in the NBA. All right, Lee. So now April, a few days away. Baseball's underway. College basketball wrapping up, but we know who's in the Final Four. NBA playoffs coming up soon. NHL playoffs as well. So what's going on with Paramount Sports? Very busy time right now.
Big news. You want to stay tuned to this episode tomorrow. I have a big announcement. So check in tomorrow and check out Tuesdays. Usually you're like, not that much going on. Basketball tournaments haven't picked back up, but you're going to want to hear this announcement. It's going to be special, and working on the basketball, get you some winners and finish out the college basketball season strong. This is pretty much the last week, 10 days where NBA teams are playing their entire lineups. Then you're going to see some even of the better teams start to rest players. So still some really good opportunities there. We had a 401 UFC card. We didn't even hit on that. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We had a push where a guy almost killed the guy. Fight should have been stopped. I thought he won all 3 rounds. So did 14 out of the 15 ringside observers. That's like people who go to it in the media, who scored along with the judges. But 2 judges had it the other way, and 1 had it as a tie, which is unconscionable. But it was maybe the best card in the UFC I've ever seen. There were knockouts. There was crazy decisions. There was even one time where there was a winner announced and the fighter that lost is walking off, and they realized they made a mistake and had to call him back, and they had to switch the decision. There was, incredible action. I thought it was the best UFC card maybe ever. So got another UFC card coming up this weekend, and the other 4 we went easy. We had the Michael Chiesa. We called that submission. Said he was going to do it. He did it in 1 minute and 3 seconds, his last fight in the UFC. So check it all out. Hockey rolling again. Baseball rolling. Check out all the specials. And tomorrow, stay tuned. You're going to be excited about what we're doing.
All right. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as well as the podcast version you can find on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Type in Locked On Bets. You'll be all set. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.